Finally, it was here. Our last day of school. Samantha was my best friend. We had been friends since our first day at school when we were 5 years old. It would feel strange not seeing her every day. But Samantha was starting a job at our local grocery store, and I was about to start my own business. We had the whole world ahead of us. But then the unthinkable happened, and I ended up in a coma. But before I go on, make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more shocking stories. I remember my first day at school. I was so nervous as I waved goodbye to Mom at the school gates. "Bye, darling," said Mom. "Have a wonderful day." I found my classroom and sat next to a blonde-haired girl. She looked just as scared as me. "I'm Tina. What's your name?" I asked her. "Samantha," she replied. We were best friends from that moment on. We did everything together, told each other all our secrets, who we had a crush on, etc. Sometimes we liked the same boy, but we never fell out over it. We were both happy whenever something good happened to the other one, like the time we both went for the lead role in the school production of Cinderella. The head of the drama department told everyone that the cast list would be on the notice board after school. Samantha and I joined the crowd gathered in front of the notice board. "Congratulations, Tina," said Carl. "You got the lead role, and I'm Prince Charming." I was so happy. I turned to look at Samantha. At first, I thought she looked angry, but she smiled at me. "That's fantastic, Tina," she said. "I'm so happy for you." When we were in our final year of high school, I told Samantha what I wanted to do when I left school. I wanted to open my own business. I'd been working on a new invention for about 6 months, and finally it was starting to take off. I had rented a warehouse and had made a prototype. I felt so proud of my new business. You're probably wondering what my product was, and when you hear about it, you'll probably laugh. But I was proud. I had invented a pizza-shaped shoe. I knew that everyone would love it once they saw it. Every night after school, I went to the warehouse and worked on the production. When me and Samantha walked out of the school gates for the final time, I felt so excited for the future. "I'll call you when I get home, Samantha," I said. "I'm going to the warehouse." "Okay," Samantha said as she ran off to catch the bus home. I worked on my pizza-shaped shoe for a couple of hours. I was so happy with it. It was exactly what I had imagined. I climbed up the ladder to put it safely away, but as I reached the top, I suddenly felt dizzy. Everything went black and I fell from the ladder, banging my head hard on the floor. That's how I ended up in hospital in a coma. For 3 years. Of course, I didn't know anything about it. My poor family took it in turns, but they never left me alone. Someone was always by my bedside, in case I woke up. I could hear voices around me, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. I could hear machines beeping, too. I opened my eyes. The light was so bright it dazzled me. Where was I? Doctor, Tina's waking up." I recognized the voice. It was my mom talking. I looked at her and smiled. "Where am I? What happened?" I asked. That's when Mom told me everything. I had been in a coma for 3 years. Mom told me how they had gone to the warehouse looking for me when I didn't come home. They had found me lying on the floor at the bottom of the ladders. I was unconscious. They had brought me to the hospital. The doctors had warned them that I might never wake up, but they never gave up, hoping for a miracle. I couldn't believe it. "But what about my business?" I cried. "I was just starting out." Mom told me I had nothing to worry about. In fact, I had a lot to be happy about. You see, whilst I had been in a coma, Mom and Dad had continued my business idea. It was a huge success. Everyone who was anyone was wearing my pizza-shaped shoes. They had put all the money in my bank account for me, and now I was filthy rich. Eventually, I was able to leave the hospital. I couldn't wait to get to work, but the doctors had told me I couldn't rush into anything. I still needed to rest. It was about 3 weeks later that I eventually took over the running of the business from Mom and Dad. At first, everything was fine, but then things started to go wrong. I couldn't understand it. I was running things exactly the same as Mom and Dad had done, but we were losing money. It wasn't that noticeable at first, but then it got worse and worse. Sales were dropping, and I knew that if things didn't change soon, then the business would be bankrupt. It didn't make any sense. What was I doing wrong? I asked Mom and Dad to meet me at the warehouse. "For the sake of the company, I need to resign," I told them. "Can you two take over running the business again, please?" "Yes, of course we will," said Mom. "And you will get the same percentage of the profit," said Dad. "Enough for you to live on." I found a small house. It was all I could afford with the money I was receiving from the business. The house was run down and it wasn't in a very nice area, but I would be okay. I just didn't leave the house in the evening. It wasn't a safe area for a girl to be out at night alone. Beggars lined the streets and homeless people slept in doorways. It was actually quite depressing. I sat watching TV one evening when my phone beeped. It was a message from Samantha. I hadn't seen her since I stopped working on my business. Every time she suggested meeting up, I managed to come up with an excuse. I told her I was busy or not feeling very well. This message was the same as all the others. She wanted to come and see me. but I couldn't let her see how I was living. I was so ashamed. I ignored her message, but then she started calling me. I knew I couldn't put her off forever. She wouldn't take no for an answer. Eventually, I answered her call.
Tina, finally! I've been trying to get in touch with you for ages,
said Samantha.
I want to come see you.
I gave Samantha the address and told her to come over. About 30 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. I opened it, saw Samantha standing there. Come in, I said. Samantha came in and looked around her in astonishment.
Why are you living like this?
She asked.
You have a huge business making lots of money.
I explained to Samantha that I had resigned from my business. I told her all about how since I had taken over the running of it, everything had gone downhill. She looked at me sadly.
I have something to tell you, Tina,
said Samantha.
I didn't want to say anything because I know you were close to your mom and dad, but now that I see how you were living, I have to tell you. When you were running the business, your parents were sabotaging the sales on purpose. They wanted the company back for themselves.
Could it be true? Will my parents really do that to me? But there was no other explanation. I knew what I had to do. I wanted to get my revenge, and I knew exactly how I was going to do it. What my parents didn't know was, whilst I was working on my pizza-shaped shoe business, I was also working on another business idea. I was going to expand into fruit-shaped shoes. I would take on my parents with a rival company. I started working on my new line, banana-shaped shoes, apple and orange-shaped shoes too. I found a new warehouse on the other side of town and opened my new company. It wasn't long before everyone was wearing my new fruit-shaped shoes. Nobody wanted pizza-shaped shoes anymore. Fruit shoes were the latest trend. I knew I had ruined my parents' business, but they deserved it. I was successful once again, and I had one person to thank for it, my best friend, Samantha. If she hadn't told me the truth, I wouldn't have opened my new company. I decided I would take her out for dinner. I called her and asked her to meet me for dinner that evening. When I got to the restaurant, Samantha was sitting at a table.
What's the occasion?
She asked, and I sat down next to her. I wanted to treat you to dinner to say thank you, I replied. If it wasn't for you, I would never have opened up another business. Now I'm even more successful than before, and my parents are paying the price. Samantha smiled at me.
Oh, that's what friends are for,
she said. I felt so lucky to have Samantha for a friend. I knew she would do anything for me. The next day, I was in my office when my phone rang. I looked to see who it was. It was Dad ringing. I answered the call and listened as Dad told me how worried he and Mom were. He told me that the business was really bad. Their sales had been dropping over the last few weeks. I felt sorry for Dad and was starting to feel a bit guilty that I had caused him all this worry. But then I remembered what they had done to me. Tina, we can't afford to pay you any money at all this month, he said. Our new competitor has wiped out our business. We are barely making enough money to survive. Little did Dad know that it was his own daughter that owned his rival company, that he was on the phone to his competitor. It's okay, Dad, I understand, I said. When I put down the phone, I laughed to myself. Who cares if I didn't get any money from my parents? I had a successful business of my own. A few days later, I was at my warehouse working on another fruit shoe design when my assistant came and knocked on my office door.
There is someone wanting to see you,
she said. Okay, send them in, I replied. I looked up and was shocked to see my parents standing in the doorway, but they looked even more shocked.
Tina, what are you doing here?
Asked Mom.
Don't tell me you have a job with our competitor.
No, I said. I haven't got a job working for your competitor. I am your competitor. What are you talking about? Asked Dad. Why would you open up a business to rival your own parents? I think we need to have a talk, I replied. Sit down and I will explain everything. I told them how I knew about all their attempts to sabotage my business when I was running it. I thought they would deny it, but instead they admitted to what they had done. We only did that because we got an anonymous tip that you were planning to kick us out from the business, said Dad. But I would never have done that, I said. If it wasn't for you two, I wouldn't even have a business.
You have to believe us, said Mom.
Look, I still have the message. I will show you. Mom opened her phone and showed me the message. It was true. Someone had sent a false message telling them that I was planning on firing them. But who would do that? I looked at the number the message had been sent from and my heart went cold. I know whose number that is, I said. It's Samantha that sent you the message. Why would Samantha do such a thing? I was so upset and angry. I have to go and speak to Samantha, I told them. I need some answers. I went straight over to Samantha's house. When I got there, I knocked hard on the door and a few seconds later, Samantha opened it.
Hi, Tina, come in, she said.
I followed her into the lounge and sat down. I was shaking so much I could hardly get the words out of my mouth. I can't believe what you have done to me, I said. Samantha looked at me. I thought at first she was going to deny it all, but then she realized from my face that I knew everything. Why would you want to destroy my life? I asked.
Because you have everything,
She screamed, suddenly losing her cool.
You've always got everything you wanted. You got the boys that I liked. You got better grades than me. You have your own business. All I do is work 8 hours a day in a crummy job. I just want you to know how it feels to fail just for once in your life.
I had thought she wanted the best for me. Well, I was wrong. I guess blood really is thicker than water. Really is.
Do you know the kind of movies where the babysitter is a psycho? Those movies had traumatized me since I was a kid, and because of that, I had no interest in having a babysitter whatsoever. But no matter how much I resisted, my parents got me one. They were busy, hard-working business people and had to stay out of the house most of the time, so I had no choice but to get a sitter, even when I was 14. But before we move on, like this video and hit that subscribe button and activate the notification bell, and you'll never have bad luck in life. Trust me, it works. I did throw 1 or 2 tantrums about that, but that didn't exactly work with my parents. But I guess maybe out of luck or something, my babysitter turned out to be really nice. She didn't talk much and was about my mother's age and didn't look creepy like the ones in the movies, so she was fine. At least that was what it seemed at first. She was my babysitter as well as our housekeeper. She cleaned all the rooms, made all my favorite food, and not just that, she even drove me to and from school. We got such a good deal with her. Who even works this much for so little money? My mom said one day while we were having dinner, and my dad nodded his head in agreement. I was also happy about that because I didn't have to do any housework, which I had to do otherwise for pocket money. Life was going good like that, but slowly I realized that the babysitter was starting to take more and more control over my life. For example, when she came to pick me up from school, she would start honking like crazy if I got out even a minute later. That was so embarrassing. I had to run to get to the car as soon as the classes were done and couldn't stay back and chat with my friends. Also, I had to finish up all the food she made for me and couldn't even leave one grain behind. And being full was not an excuse she would take. I was like a puppet whose thread was in her hands. Because of all that, I was fed up with her and wanted to get rid of her. However, my parents were not up for it. It was as if she had put some kind of spell on them. They were really pleased with her and her work, and there was also the part about having to pay her less. Of course, they had no idea about how she was controlling my life and making it a living hell. One day, I was just passing by my parents' room to get to mine when I saw that the door there was cracked open. But my parents weren't home at the time, so I decided to take a peek in, and what I saw there was bizarre and confusing. My babysitter was in my parents' room, dressed in my mom's clothes and jewelry. Well, that's odd, I thought, all confused about what she was doing. That led me towards one clear explanation. She was stealing from my mom. At that moment, instead of confronting her, I made up my mind that I was going to tell my parents all about it, expose her, and finally get rid of her. As soon as my parents came home that day, I went to them, running to tell them everything. "Mom, she's a thief. The babysitter is a thief," I told them without taking a moment to breathe. "What are you talking about?" Mom replied, all worried. "I saw her in your room. She was taking your jewelry," I said, and added that she should go and check what items in her room are missing. After hearing all I had to say, my parents called the babysitter to come out of the kitchen, and then all of us made our way to the room. There, my mom checked each and every drawer and closet, one by one, properly. "I don't understand, Eddie. All my valuables are right where I left them. Nothing's missing," Mom said. And as soon as she said that, the babysitter burst out crying and fell on her feet. What a drama queen, I thought. But she started blabbering out her side of the story, which was absolutely untrue. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Zyper. I was just doing my job in cleaning your room. I don't know why the boy thinks I'm a thief," she said, crying out even louder now. And she was successful in fooling my parents with her crocodile tears. My parents instantly started apologizing to her as if their life depended on it. "We are so sorry, Maria. We didn't mean to hurt you. Eddie here just needs to learn a lesson," Dad said, and told me I was grounded for a month, and they were also taking away my pocket money for a week. You might easily guess what happened after that. She had more power over my parents that led to her influencing all their decisions that concerned me. I was honestly living like a prisoner in my own house. I had to follow strict bed and TV time rules. I had to eat whatever she made and could barely go out to play with my friends. Life was not so good, but after some time, I got really bored because of having to stay at home all the time. That's it. If she's not letting me out, I'll call my friends over, I said to myself and texted my group to come for a sleepover because my parents were out that day. 3 of my friends came over instantly, and there was a lot of chattering, shouting, and laughing in the house. We played video games and ate a lot of junk food. I hadn't had this good of a time in so long. However, I could tell that Maria was not happy about it by the look on her face. After playing video games till midnight, we finally went to bed. I went to my room while my friends slept in the guest room. But something strange happened in the morning because when I woke up, my friends were not there anymore. Did they leave without telling me? I thought, but figured that their parents might have come to pick them up, so I didn't think much about it. Then, at school, I went to find my friends first thing, but all of them were ignoring me. I just kept on thinking about what went wrong, but couldn't figure out why. And to be honest, I was just done wondering. So at lunchtime, I went up to them in the cafeteria and demanded to know what was going on and why they were acting so cold towards me. One of my friends then took a long breath and started speaking. "Your babysitter is what happened. She scared the life out of us last night, man," he said, and told me that she warned them to never show up in the house ever again or talk to me. Otherwise, she would show their parents some pictures of my friends sneaking out of school, which could get them in trouble. "She's a psycho. I think you should watch your back and beware of her," he added, and that was it. I didn't even have friends anymore. After that, my life became very depressing and boring. And at times, I even felt like running away from the house. But let's be real, there was nowhere I could go. However, after what seemed like forever, I finally turned 16. And that was when my parents gave me the best news of my life. "Since you're old enough to take care of yourself now, we're getting rid of Maria," my mom said. Finally, I thought, and assured my parents that their decision was perfect. Then, the good times began for me. I could finally breathe the air of freedom. I could go wherever I liked, whenever I liked, and hang out with my friends as much as I wanted. They even started coming to my house for sleepovers again after I told them that the babysitter was out of the picture. And the best part was that I finally confessed my feelings to a girl I liked and got a girlfriend. Everything was going smoothly after that. Sometimes I would take my girlfriend out on dates. Sometimes I would hang out with my friends. But at times, I felt as if someone was watching me or following me. I know you might think I was being paranoid, but one time, even while I was on a vacation with my parents on a far-off island, I felt the same eyes watching over me. I was chilling on the beach and relaxing in the sun when I felt like I saw the psycho babysitter. Did she follow me here? I thought, but I brushed that feeling off quickly as I wanted to heal from the trauma she put me through, and also because I just saw her once, so I must have been mistaken. Slowly, I was able to erase her and the difficult times from my mind. But I had no idea what was waiting for me because a year after that, my worst nightmare came back. My parents and I were getting ready for the weekend brunch when suddenly the crazy babysitter came crying at our door. "Mr. and Mrs. 𝗪𝗓, I haven't found any job since I left here. I'm so poor. Please, give me a job," she begged and cried. Since my parents were very kind and soft-hearted people, they agreed to keep her as a housekeeper without even asking for my opinion. However, this time, I decided that I will not let her have control over my life. I decided to put on my imaginary iron suit and be brave like an Iron Man. I am not letting her win this time, I said to myself and accepted my parents' decision. After that, just to show her that I was not her puppet anymore, I started going out more often. I would even bring my girlfriend over for a movie night or a video game. But then, something weird happened. I know I should have expected that with the psycho babysitter around. The thing was, I was getting lazier. To be precise, sleepy whenever I had plans to go out. I had to find out what was going on, so I secretly installed some nanny cams on multiple parts of the house. And what the camera recorded was unbelievable and unacceptable. The video from the kitchen revealed that the crazy woman was mixing some kind of pill in my dinner, most probably a sleeping pill. That was the reason why I was feeling sleepy all the time. It was not some little thing I could ignore and let go of. I had to show everything to my parents and then the police. For that, I called my parents who were at work at that time to let them know about the situation. But strangely, none of their phones were reachable. So without wasting any time, I drove to my parents' office. And when I reached there, I got the shock of my life. My parents' colleagues informed me that they had not been to the office for 5 days. "We have been trying to reach them, but their phones are not reachable," one of them said. I thanked them and got out of there thinking I should wait for my parents at home. However, even after days of waiting, my parents didn't show up, but I thought maybe they went on a vacation without telling me. While all the bizarre things were happening in my life, my girlfriend also ghosted me and blocked me from calling or texting her. Sketchy, right? I had the same thought like you. It must be a maniac in my life. I was so done sitting back and letting her ruin my life like that. Hence, I decided to do some stalking of my own on her before going to the police. I picked a time when Maria was working in the kitchen. I sneaked out of the house secretly to pay a visit to the location she had provided to my parents as her home. It was an old and shabby place, and looking from the outside, it didn't seem like anyone would even live there except for ghosts. Because it was old, it was easier for me to enter the place. As soon as I got in, I was shocked because the walls of the house were filled with my pictures from when I was a baby to my first day of school to whatnot. I was creeped out and wanted to get out of there as soon as possible, but I had to see the rest of the house. Slowly, I went around the house like a rat, not making even a single sound, and there was nothing to see there. Really just a couple of pieces of old furniture and an old computer in the corner, which stood out to me. I opened the computer and what I found out shocked me even more. It was the haunting search history on that computer. The search history showed that the psycho woman had looked up all my social media and government information multiple times on the internet. Also, the search history went back to years, which meant she had searched for me before even coming to my house as a babysitter. What does she have in mind for me? I thought, all scared and nervous. Right then, I was startled by the noise made by the squeaky old door. "Oh no, someone's coming in," I said to myself, but it was too late for me to run. I was so scared and my poor heart almost gave up when I saw the psycho babysitter enter. It was like all those horror movies all over. But I knew what I had to do. For that, I put up a brave face and of course the imaginary iron suit. "What is all this, you creep? Explain yourself," I asked. "Don't use that language with your birth mother," she shouted and told me that I was her son. She also told me that she had put me up for adoption because she was poor, but then she couldn't stay away from me afterward. "There's no point in hiding the truth now. I did everything out of love," she added, but I didn't believe her for a second. "You're a liar, and I'm going straight to the police from here," I said and started to walk out of there before she stopped me. "You wouldn't want to do that if you love your parents," she said and showed me a video on her phone. My heart sank like the Titanic when I saw that she had my parents locked up in a cage. I couldn't utter a word while the psycho woman laughed like crazy. She warned me that if I went to the police, she would harm my parents and then lock me up in my house. What should I do? I am locked in my house guarded by the psycho babysitter.